Some of the other matters that pop up here about this kind of matter is, I mean, yes, we've spoken about technology, the importance or the need for us to invest a lot much more, but the CCTV, we'll go back to some of these things because who knows, they could help us a great deal. If it's not working, who's responsible? Yes. Why has the person not been brought to book? So if these kind of things continue, no punitive measure meted out to any defaulting person, can we successfully make progress with our fight to terrorism? Because if they see these loopholes, they'll take advantage of it.
Let me say this. You see, we should not rush to start blaming anybody. In asymmetry war is war of an enemy within who are mobile. There's not like fighting someone who is static or moving from one corner. Because of the nature of it, we must all rise up to, first of all, we must not be pessimistic in standing up to the enemy within us. You see, it's much more difficult to fight the enemy within than fighting the enemy outside. And secondly, you must realize that this thing that is happening is the first time Nigeria is experiencing this thing. And it's so far the capacity to deal with what we're having, it has to be on the increase. I would say we should not at all be pessimistic. Rather, we should be resolute. And our people should know that it's anybody in any local should realize it is also as much their duty to protect and to contribute to the system. I know there are those who are scared that if they go and report to the police, the same person, you may find that they may be exposed. But we should find other ways of cooperating, because any assistance given by any person can save lives of one's neighbor or even of one's members of one's family.
Yeah, I'm also looking at, because, I mean, it's always the case in security matters when some of these things happen concurrently, almost on a regular basis. You see agencies looking at signature. For instance, now, we know they go for soft targets. Now, they're going at night. And so, shouldn't it then occur to the agencies that, okay, well, we've been able to identify certain things, we should plug those loopholes. But where do they get these components for making these bombs? Have we thought about even closing up on all of those? Are those explosives, are they regulated? If not, who's looking into those areas to see that we cut off the supply? All of these things, does it look to you as though we are considering all of those options?
Let's make no mistake. Those who are charged with responsibility are doing the best they can. I can assure you that the thing is that anybody with basic knowledge of chemistry or science, and with the social media now and the internet, the ability to do these things is so widespread. And you don't need to look for items from a long distance to put up a weapon. Now, all that it requires, the challenge, the response, the effective response to these is to mobilize our people. Our people have to be mobilized. For too long now, national security has been seen only from the exclusive sense of the military only. The lessons we have to learn is that national security has to involve most of our people. And this is why it's so sad that some people are still arguing that we don't need to have policing that is locally accountable and that is dependent on recruitment of the local, and it is led and driven by the local. You know, people keep on still trying to protect their professions. Many people in the police service want to protect their corners and here. It's a high time we devolve policing. We devolve policing to the locals. It is a basic principle of security that without people's participation in policing, there will be gaps.
So you're implying that the issue of state police needs to be looked at more intensely?
Yes, we should stop playing the police personnel. Most police officers always want to defend their profession. We've gone beyond that. It's a high time we know that we have a big problem in our hands, and if we want to walk the talk, we must stop. We must devolve and let our people be participatory in our security outfit. First of all, if you look at the two examples, like I used the example of Pakistan on one side and India on the other side. Pakistan, which is the models we tend to adapt, is a model which tends to concentrate on the military and on the national security agencies only, and at the same time, there is lack of freedom in the sense of aligned self-determination. What does that do? It means that you have a system which is stretched to the point of elasticity that it will break. But where you allow for other people's participation in governance, in other words, you devolve policing to make sure that people are involved. If you know, the example I used to use is that if you see in Lagos when the OPCs, before they started, some of them started going deviantly, were very effective in their locals. Well, if a man comes into a territory, the locals will know who is coming in. But where you've made the locals become, oh, all right, it's not our business, it's the business of those who are in uniform, then there will be gaps. So it's a high time we stop playing partisan politics. Partisan in the sense, I mean, if you are a military man, don't over-defend your profession, but concede that you can't do it all, that we need to devolve our policing. We just need to. We cannot keep on having one single policing system in the whole country. If the police is overstretched, not only are they overstretched, they are undermanned. They are not. They should be better paid, but we also need to complement. I'm not saying the national police, the NPF should not continue. The NPF or the NPS, I would say, Nigerian Police Service should continue, but they should be complemented by state or regional or local police. We cannot run away from it. Every time we try to shy away from it, we are told back that we have to go back to basics. The basics have to be followed. The basics of security in any country, if it's not a colonial regime or a military regime, has to be involve all the people. And it means that we need to learn that we need to devolve power to the people.
The issue of another basic thing that many would think should be looked at first is the issue of funding. For instance, if we're talking about devolving powers to the states where we have state police or regional police or local police, as the case may be, you have to talk about funding. You talked about the fact that they're not well paid, they should be paid more and they should have better equipment. But besides the police and security agencies having better equipment than they have now, let's look at the issue of funding for the terrorists. Where are they getting their funds from? Who are those sponsoring them? My colleagues asked a question earlier. The federal government has said one time about releasing the list of those that are sponsoring this terrorist. What do you think about this? Funding, how do they get their funds?
I really cannot answer, but I know going by any students of insurgency or counter-revolution, there are very many means of the counter-insurgents get money. They by raiding banks, by kidnapping, and many other means. It's not they like you said, they may be quietly be funded by some people in our midst, but I think that even those who are funding now realize that the whole thing is backfiring on everybody. It's backfiring. It's been hijacked in a way that it does not even reflect well on those who are, we may call, self-determined people. It has now become a war against the innocent, and what is gone to that stage, so that there are many ways, like I've said, of funding. All we need to do, the weapon against this is that, please, we must involve our people into the system. Involve them by, we must massively, those of us, create more jobs for our youths and people. We can no more be paying lip service. It's not enough for one to be hoarding money, hoarding houses, hoarding cars, hoarding, saving. If you do all this and you don't have a secure environment, what is the need of all that wealth?
A little further, but let's still look at this school of thought, because I mean, you know, that those who say it takes training, and maybe a lot of it, for one to attack an area or a target twice, especially when there's a security blanket. Now, the kind of training we've seen images of how, or some of those who were felled by their bullets, we've seen how they shoot in terms of those areas that they target. And then this one, isn't it possible, because when you hear some of these rumors as to certain military personnel were trained on the day of commissioning, a few of them were nowhere to be found, and then is it out of place for military strategists to look through the strategy that they're adopting here and say, wait a minute, something may just be similar to the kind of things we'll have, maybe the kind of trainings we'll have? Would it be far-fetched for us to introspect and actually see, are there moles amongst the security agencies, and how do they plug those holes?
I wouldn't rule out whatever fears you may be expressing, but I must remind you that the world has become a global village. The movement, both physically and through the social media of know-how, is on the increase. And in a country where you have many unemployed graduates, to some of them who have done all they needed to do, their parents have spent money on them, and then they look back, they cannot pay back, they are frustrated. Some of them have developed skills, and some skills can be misused skills. So in terms of training, the people, the quality of youth we have now have many educated youths amongst them. And like I said, the world has become so small that what happens in one corner of the world is quickly transferred to the other corner. That is, the practical thing is that in the West Sahel region, which we belong, there has been the insurgency. There's a link between what we have in Mali, in the Central African Republic, in the Cameroons, in the Chad, and Nigeria. So, and because our borders are so long, and the movement, if you know, in our borders in the northwest and northeast, so it's not like the borders in the south where you have very few entry points. There are many entry points, and all that it requires is that we must involve our people in their security. The days of having security, which is very exclusive, is no more. This is a lesson we have to learn.